25 years of Torah learning in Cherry Hill. How did this happen? How have we all come so far? Tonight, we recognize that the only reason why we are all still here, and not only still here, but thriving more than ever before, is because each one of you in this room, each one of you has supported Torah learning in Cherry Hill. Each one of you has recognized and contributed your spark to the sacred fire of Torah that illuminates the world even in its darkest moments. In his introduction to Sefer Shmos, the Ramban, as Rabbi Klar has often taught us, asks, why is Sefer Shmos often referred to as Sefer HaGeula, the book of redemption? And at first glance it seems obvious. We were slaves in Mitzrayim, and Hashem took us out, and we were therefore redeemed. But were we really? What exactly happened after we were taken out of Mitzrayim? Yes, we received the Torah at Har Sinai, but by the end of Sefer Shmos, we were wanderers in a desert. Was that the redemption we were promised in Mitzrayim? Is that what Hashem meant? That is the Ramban's question. If we look at the end of Sefer Shmos, we come to the Chanukas HaMishkan, the inauguration of the tabernacle. It was at this time that Hashem's Shechina came down and rested, specifically on the Kruvim, the two angels that represented the two children learning Torah B'chavrusa. It was because of this particular moment that Sefer Shmos is referred to as the Sefer HaGeula, which means, although we may have physically been located in a desert, we had achieved total Geula because Hashem was among us. But what of today, when we no longer have the Mishkan, and we no longer have the Kruvim to host Hashem's Shechina? The Gemara teaches us that now that we no longer have the Mishkan or the Beis HaMikdash, there's only one place for Hashem's Shechina to rest, and in that place you have Geula. Ein lo leHakadosh Baruch Hu ela arba amos shel halacha. Hashem's presence is found in no other place other than the 4 amos of halacha, specifically where people are joined together and engage in halachic exploration to find the truth, the real truth, the compass, as my father-in-law calls it, for how we are to conduct ourselves in everyday life. We have Geula every day, and it is located right here in Cherry Hill at 401 Cooper Landing Road. At any time of day, you can walk in and find Jews of all walks of life learning and engaging in Hashem's Torah. Whether it be 5 a.m. or 11 p.m., there's always Torah learned in the Kollel, which means that Hashem's presence is always and uninterruptedly at the Cherry Hill Kollel. The theme of tonight's dinner, Small Sparks, Eternal Impact, is a testament to the Kollel's achievement. As we will see, even the smallest spark can ignite a flame that lasts for eternity. 25 years ago, a small group of individuals, fearlessly led by Rabbi Serebrowski, came together, each one with their own personal dedication and commitment to Torah, and they changed the community of Cherry Hill forever. Their fire, ignited by the passion for Torah and a desire to build a community, has reached individuals and families across the world. Tonight, we honor 3 of these exceptional families, each of whom has embraced the opportunities presented by the Kollel, allowing their spark to be kindled into a beacon of light. Please join me in honoring Mr. and Mrs. Lee and Vicky Cohen. Mr. and Mrs. Gena and Lana Landa. And Dr. and Mrs. Barry and Sherry Weinberger. Before I introduce the next speaker, I would like to take a moment to thank everyone who made tonight possible. The list is so long to name each person individually, but I would be remiss if I failed to thank my wife Raquel for all of her hard work and dedication to this dinner. They gave me the title as chairman, but she is truly the one who is responsible for putting all this together. With no further ado, I ask everybody to join us in the coming video.
Rabbi Sarbrowski is a pioneer. To take a group of Yungalite, rent a space in Cherry Hill, parachute into the community, and just make a beis medrash, that's a pioneer.
I was one of the first congregants of Rabbi Sarbrowski's shul.
Back in the beginning, when I first started becoming religious, there weren't too many options of davening on the east side, certainly not Orthodox. And then Rabbi Sarbrowski came to Cherry Hill, and he was doing classes and helping people learn more about Torah and mitzvot. He eventually moved his whole family to Cherry Hill, which was a tremendous sacrifice on his part. We had a real serious, proper minyan, and he taught us how to do everything properly.
His dedication and commitment to Yiddishkeit was one of the guiding lights for me to follow.
Rabbi Sarbrowski's vision was the vision of the Mashgiach Reb Nosson to come and create a place of a high standard of learning that will have the ability to transform the community. And Rabbi Sarbrowski really carried out their vision, and he led the kollel remarkably.
Rabbi Sarbrowski is an individual who has a great level of Avos HaTorah and has the determination to see that to fruition.
Rabbi Sarbrowski is really responsible for Talmud Torah in this community at every level.
He was able to establish a Makom Torah in a community that had nothing like it before and make relationships with the Rabbanim that were here, with secular Jews that were here, with everybody else, and be able to make himself literally his own community.
I can't even imagine the community being something where Rabbi Sarbrowski was not a part of it. And the fact that he started the kollel, brought in Torah links, and it's really brought so much to our Cherry Hill Jewish community. It's really tremendous. I don't know that I could picture something without it, something different than what he has really brought to the table.
The level of Yiddishkeit and Warmkeit and warmth and Torah and enthusiasm and emeskeit that he's brought to community is just immeasurable.
If Rabbi Sarbrowski hadn't launched these critical institutions, what would our community look like? It's hard to imagine. First of all, would we have a community? That's something that we owe both the Sarbrowskis an enormous debt of gratitude for.
Okay, I would like to call upon someone that is well recognized in Lakewood. If you're from Lakewood, you know who he is. His name is Menashe Miller. He actually was, once upon a time long ago, part of the Cherry Hill Community Kollel, and legend has it that his great heights that he is on today is all due to that. I'm not sure if it's true, but it sounds pretty true to me. There was a story that he was on the van ride back, and they were passing McGuire Air Force Base, and I guess it was just out of the spur that they decided to see how far into the Air Force Base they would actually get. So they decided to go, and they'd probably, end up doing a U-turn by the guard. And they reached the guard, and the guard said, "Rabbi, we're waiting for you. Get in there." It happens to be there was a bris that day, and as legend has it, from there he became a chaplain, from chaplain to mayor. After being a mayor, he became mayor again and again, and he's actually a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Air Force as well. Really unbelievable, and we'd like to call him up and introduce the reward to Rabbi Sarbrowski.
Good evening. Rabbi Klar, Rosh Kollel, Yamin Kozlowitz, Rosh Chabura, Chavrei HaKollel, friends, what an honor it is and pleasure to be here tonight. At the mayor's office, from time to time, we always get invitations to come out and speak at various events. When I got this invitation to come here for Cherry Hill to speak first Rabbi Sarabrowski, and to be here with the Chevri HaKollel, I said, absolutely count me in. Obviously, we're going to straighten out that story we just heard right now. The story actually goes, 25 years ago, we were traveling to the Cherry Hill Kollel. And Bensi, who you saw in the video before, he was one of the van drivers. This was a van, let me tell you, you don't wish this van on your worst enemy. It was rickety, and we were driving all the way down on a daily basis to Cherry Hill. And we used to pass by, and to make it a little interesting, some days we take the 195 to the 295. Other days, if we were feeling a little rich, we took the Turnpike. And from time to time, he would take Route 70, depending on how he felt that day. And we would pass McGuire Air Force Base. Now it's called Joint Base McGuire-Dix Lakehurst. But back then, it was regular McGuire Air Force Base. And we used to pass by and marvel at the base. We would marvel at the gates, marvel at the enter center, marvel at the C-17 airplanes. From time to time, you'd see them flying around. And we would pass by, and we would marvel over what we saw. And Benson used to say, whoever could breach the gates and get inside, I'll buy him a shas. And this was his common line he used to say. Well, it happened to be, my wife had given birth, and the second day after the baby was born, when I went back to the kollel, I wasn't able to go as early with the van as everyone else, and I had to wind up driving my own car. I'm driving my car, I took the Route 70 route, and I'm passing by McGuire Air Force Base, and I'm thinking of what Benson used to say. And I thought to myself, this is a great opportunity. Let me pull up and see what happens. And of course, I pull up to the gate, and right away, one of the guards goes, what are you doing here? Make a U-turn on your way out. And one of the guards standing next to him goes like this, a little nudge, and says, this is probably the rabbi who's here for the baby girl naming. Like I wasn't a bris, so the baby girl naming. And I just like nodded my head, the arm goes up, and I go. And here I am in McGuire Air Force Base, and I was ready to make my U-turn afterwards and make my way out and go back to the kollel and say, I did it. And then I thought to myself, wait a second, no one's going to believe me. So I drove a little further. I followed the signs to the chapel. I get into the chapel, and indeed there was an event going on, and I got to meet somebody, Rabbi Lapp, and we got speaking, and he says, we need someone to teach the Hebrew reading crash course. Would you mind coming out here, voluntarily come out? And I started going out to McGuire Air Force Base and giving the Hebrew reading crash course. One day, someone walks over to me and says, what do you need to come here voluntarily? Here, sign the dotted line to get paid for it. That sounds easy. Sign the dotted line, you get paid for it. I signed the dotted line, 2004. I was shipped out to Alabama for basic training for the next 8 weeks. And from there, it's 20 years now, my career with the United States Air Force. Yes, it all started with the Cherry Hill Kollel. The Cherry Hill Kollel, and we're going to hear soon from Rabbi Sarabrowski, he's going to go down and walk down memory lane, how we actually started in Howell, from Howell came to Cherry Hill, and from Cherry Hill it blossomed. But Rabbi Klar, when I walked in here tonight, I was blown away, absolutely blown away by the amount of people you hear, the quality of people here, the amount of Chevri HaKollel that I hear. This is when we kind of left, when I left the kollel so many years ago, a score ago, 2 decades ago, it was a small fledgling kollel. Rabbi Sarabrowski had pulled it together. And what I see here today is absolutely phenomenal. Nothing short of a miracle, but I can imagine how you rolled up your sleeves and made this happen. Anytime I leave Lakewood, being a mayor there, I enjoy an opportunity going out of town. I come to Cherry Hill, no one's asking me to fill the pothole, take care of the property tax, plow their snow, or fix the streetlights. So being here is certainly an opportunity. But I have to tell you, first of all, I see many of my Lakewood colleagues that are here, so obviously we will get homework before we leave home. But no matter where I am, people will always come over and say, oh, you're the mayor of Lakewood, can you help me with whatever the item would be? A number of years ago, an individual learning in the Lakewood kollel comes over to me and says, Mr. Mayor, I just took a course in being an exterminator. Can I get a job in town hall and do the exterminating? So my common response to all the people that come for a job in town hall is, don't call me, I'll call you, let me have your card, and we'll be in touch. And a couple of times during the year, I met this individual. His name was Yisrael Farkas. I'm saying his name because it's a good story. And he gives me his card, and he says, again, can I get some work in town hall? Later on during the year, it was a week before Pesach, and it was the same Sunday. It was Sunday, the week before Pesach. It was the same Sunday as Easter Sunday. And I get a phone call, there's a shul in Lakewood, there's a raccoon in the shul, and this raccoon is running around in circles, and they're chasing after it, and Chaverim's there, and they're with brooms, they're trying to get this raccoon out of the shul. And they couldn't get it out of the shul. So they call me up and say, hey, we tried reaching out to Lakewood Township Animal Control, but they're off, it's Easter Sunday. Is there anything you possibly can do? So I thought to myself, this would be a great time to call that Yisrael Farkas from the Kollel, and I gave him a call, and I said, hey, can you help us out? We have a raccoon in the shul. And he says, I'm finishing for a Seder, I'll be right over. And he pulls up in his car with his black hat on the windshield, and he comes out, and I think to myself, this is not going to end well. He gets out of the car, and he walks over he's wearing a trench coat, and he walks over to the shul, and he says, I need everybody to come out. Everyone comes out of the shul. He walks into the shul, and 10 minutes later, he walks out of the shul, and there's a raccoon trailing behind him, 25 years, a raccoon trailing him. And it follows him to the end of the property. He pulls something out of his pocket. He throws it into the woods, and the raccoon runs into the woods. And he goes, pay me. I said, what'd you just do? Was that magic? How'd you do that? He says, on the way here to the shul, I stopped off in one of the stores in Lakewood. It's called MPGS. I stopped off in the store, and I bought a can of white albacore tuna. And I put the tuna in the center by the bima, middle of the shul, and I stood back. And the smell, the aroma of tuna is a very strong smell. And after a while, the raccoon started walking towards the tuna. And I picked up the can, he says, and I walked out of the shul, and the raccoon followed me. And I said, wow, that's fabulous. Needless to say, he does have a job in town hall. His company flourished. He has 12 vehicles today, and he's running a company called Begaboo Pest Control. And I tell you this story for two reasons. Number one, when I went back to him and I said, how'd you learn how to do this? You went to school. He says, the schooling for exterminator, I could sum it up in one sentence. I said, how's that? It's very simple. All you need to do is think like the animal you're trying to trap. And I thought that was fabulous. I said, where did you get this idea from? He goes, oh, I was learning Gemara once, and in the Gemara I saw. And that, my friends, when people ask me all the time, how did you wind up becoming a mayor of Lakewood? You came straight from Kollel. How did you know land use law? You sit on a zoning board. How do you sit on the planning board? How do you know land use? The answer is that's the Gemara in Baba Basra. Third tractate Baba Basra, Masechtas Baba Basra. Third parak, Sugya of Chardol. These are the things that you're able to learn, and you hit the ground running from there. By the way, this Mr. Farkas, today is my mechutin, my daughter's father-in-law. What happened was, one day my air conditioning breaks down, and I called a friend who lives in the area. His name is Mr. Zirkin. I say, Mr. Zirkin, might you be able to come by and fix my air conditioning? He comes into the house, and he walks over, takes care of the air conditioning. Now, when he came on the way out, actually, when he knocked on the door, originally my daughter opens the door, says, sure, I've got my father for you, and that was that. A week later, I bump into him in shul, and he says, by the way, I have a shidduch for your daughter. I said, shidduch for my daughter? How do you know my daughter? So, oh, I met her when I came to your house to take care of the air conditioning. She opened the door. I said, let me get this. You saw her for exactly 3 seconds, and you have a shidduch for my daughter. I said, I don't really think so. And he says, well, actually, I already called the other side, and I mentioned your name, and they said yes. Like, oh, my God, now I can't say no. Now, thank you, Mr. Zirkin, thank you. And I spoke to my daughter. I said, listen, I got myself into a jam. Do me a favor. Please humor me. Just go out once. Just let's make this happen. And then say goodbye, and it'll be over. She goes out one time, and she says, like, exactly what we thought. This is not going to go too far, and let's call her off. I said, you know what? I see Mr. Farkas all the time. Do me a favor. Go out one more time, and then that will look pretty good. She goes out a second time. The boy opened up. And today, Baruch Hashem, they're married. She just had a baby girl 2 weeks ago, and this is very exciting. I share this to you all because of how HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world. There's tremendous siyat d'shmaya. And we see the siyat d'shmaya no matter what it is that we do. Where does one get siyat d'shmaya, which means heavenly help? Where does one get heavenly help? By doing the right thing. I'm here tonight. I want to talk a little bit about Rabbi Sarah Browski, who came to Cherry Hill doing the right thing. We would travel together down to Cherry Hill. At the time, I was also giving classes for an organization called Gesher, now called Torah Links. And I would drive together down to Cherry Hill with Rabbi Sarah Browski. And I was mesmerized. When I give a speech, I think of what I want to say, and I say it. Rabbi Sarah Browski would sit there in the car, and he'd come with papers, and he'd start reading the papers. And from the minute we left Lakewood till the minute we got down to Cherry Hill, he would practice his speech, he would study his speech, and I used to tell him, Practice this. It's like making a tie in the mirror. You make a tie in the mirror, you choke yourself. You need to be able to just get the feel of it and make it happen. He would sit in the car, Rabbi Sarobrowski, and he would prepare, he would practice, he was focused. So much so, I remember vividly two of the things that he said over. One of the things, I'll never forget this, he had said over, he said, there are 4 people in Klal Yisrael, 4 people in Am Yisrael that died without doing an Aveira. One was Amram, one was Yishai, one was Binyamin, and the 4th one was, I don't recall offhand. In any case, Rabbi Sarobrowski says, why are these 4 people? You don't hear about them so much. You hear about David HaMelech, you hear about other, why don't you hear about these 4 people so much? The answer is, because this world, we hear, people fall, you pick yourself up, you keep moving, it's a forward, I say it's the F-16 mentality. Straight ahead, no rear view mirror, pchoom, straight ahead. We focus on what we're doing, there's falls along the way, we pick ourselves up and we keep going. Every step of the way, everything that we do, all along the way, we have siyat d'shmaya to keep on moving straight ahead. Rabbi Sarobrowski came down here to Cherry Hill, and he started this edifice. He started the Cherry Hill Kollel. From there he built on, he made his own, the Torah Links Center. Coming to Cherry Hill and seeing the amount of Yidden that are here, walking in the streets, and you see it, it's vibrant, you feel it. This is all something that started with the dream, the vision of Rabbi Sarobrowski. I'll never forget sitting in the kollel. I was learning with Moshe Silberstein. He was my chavrusa in the Cherry Hill kollel. It was back 20 years ago. And we were learning a sugya. And it only came back to me a number of years later, and I'll tell you exactly what transpired. 2011, I get a phone call. Day after Rosh Hashanah, United States Air Force, Captain Miller, please call us up on a secure line, and they gave me the number. I went down the next day out to McGuire Air Force Base, I called back the number, and they say, Captain Miller, you've been designated, we'll be sending you out. And they don't tell you where. They don't tell you where. It's 8 weeks, get your affairs in order. It wasn't too hard to get everything in order. The only part that got me scared was when they said, make sure you have a will in place. I wound up getting sent out to Balad Air Base in Iraq in 2011. And my very first Shabbos there, right after we did services Friday night, and I pull out my grape juice. My wife had packed me up. It was actually over winter, I was there Hanukkah. She had packed me up matzah to take. I couldn't take challah because it would get stale. And she packed me with bottles of grape juice. And I was there Friday night, and right away after the services, I took out my grape juice to make kiddush. And one of the sergeants comes over to me and says, Rabbi, I call him a captain, why'd you bring grape juice from the US? We have grape juice here. I said, where do you have grape juice here from? There's no glop bite down the block, we're in Iraq. Where do you have grape juice from? He says, no, we have kosher grape juice. I said, well, I can't really use the con, I need the O, the U. He says, no, Rabbi, we have the O, the U, we have Kedem grape juice here. I said, how do you have Kedem grape juice? He says, well, there's an organization in the United States, it's called Kosher Troops. It's run by a woman, her name is Mrs. Eva Hamburger. And when a girl has a bat mitzvah, or a boy has a bar mitzvah, they collect all this canned food and they send it over. So we have grape juice. I said, wow, what a shame. I brought cases with me when I came. The next year, I got sent out to Qatar, or we call it the military Qatar. And again, this time before calling up, by then I was already promoted to major, and I get on the line, I say, hey, this is Major Miller, can I please speak to logistics? They get on the phone, yes, sir, what can we do for you? I said, might you be able to tell me, do you have kosher grape juice? Sir, we'll get back to you tomorrow, 24 hours. The next day, I get a phone call. Hey, Major Miller, yes, sir, Sergeant Snuffy here, whatever his name was, and he says, hey, great news, we have kosher grape juice. I fly out there, comes the first Friday night, right after services, and they bring me the grape juice. Indeed, it's a Kedem bottle of grape juice. And when I opened the top, I popped the top Friday night, and as I'm pouring it into my becher, into my kais, into the goblet, I realized instead of being that bright, vibrant purple color, It's a little off, a little brownish. And as I lifted it up, a little sniff, instead of storing it in a climate-controlled climate, it was stored in an area, like in a non-climate control, it's 110 degrees in the shade, and obviously it went rancid. It got spoiled. So what do you do Friday night? You're someplace, you have no wine or grape juice. What do you do Friday night? And I thought to what was that? Challah. I thought to myself, I remembered learning the sugya with Moshe Silberstein in the Cherry Hill Kollel. And I remember thinking to myself, as we were learning the sugya, where will I be ever in my life Friday night without wine or grape juice? This isn't pre-war Europe. This isn't some place I'm going to be without wine or grape juice. Why are we learning this? And I'll never forget, and by the way, the halacha is Friday night, you're someplace without wine or grape juice, you make kiddush on challah. And my lesson I learned from there is, no matter what you're learning, and you never know where you will be, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu, where Hashem or God will put you in 10, 20, 30. You have no idea where you'll be, what the scenario is, and something which you're learning, which might not seem relevant today, will absolutely be relevant. That which you're learning, whether you're learning Shor, Bar, Maver, Heavy, you're learning a Sugi, you're learning something in the Gemara, and it may not seem so relevant to you. Trust me, it may come around again, like I was there in Qatar Friday night without wine or grape juice. I thank Rabbi Sarabrowski, I thank Rabbi Klar, I thank the members of the Kollel for creating the Kollel, for creating the edifice, for creating the Ruach, the Aura, and yes, by becoming mayor and becoming military chaplain of the rank of lieutenant colonel, all did start from the Cherry Hill Kollel. Thank you for inviting me. Good night.
I would like to call upon Rabbi Sarabrowski himself, who has been a huge part of my life from when I was probably 7th grade, 6th grade, when he moved down. Even before he moved down, we were daven, and I remember numerous stories. I could go all night, but I probably don't want me to do that. But just for example, like when he, let's say Sukkot came around, he brought the esrogim from Lakewood. I remember one year, I was probably the last guy to come around to get an esrog, and there was that esrog that looked like a banana left in the box. And I wasn't too thrilled about it, but Rabbi Sarabrowski, he explained to me that it's a very mahudar esrog, and what did I know about halachas of esrog? I took the esrog, and I was thrilled with it because of the words that Rabbi Sarabrowski had told me about it, and also, it just always gives us chizuk. I want to please welcome up to please accept his award. Thank you.
This is a picture of Rabbi Sarabrowski's Rosh Yeshiva, who he remains very, very close with till today. The plaque reads, in honor of Rabbi Mrs. Shal Tzvi and Shoshana Miriam Sarabrowski, 25th anniversary dinner, Cherry Hill Community Kollel, true pioneers of Torah.
L'chaim.
L'chaim. You know, it's such a beautiful event here tonight. I feel like I actually accomplished something. But you know, the way I grew up, we try not to take credit for things. I have a very dear friend, his name is Gena Landa. And Gena always teaches us that everything you do it because God said so. So Gena, in your honor, l'chaim. L'chaim tovim l'shalom. You know, every community has its written history and it has its unwritten history. So I want to share with you a little bit of the unwritten history
of the Cherry Hill Kollel. The great Rosh Hashiva, Reb Aaron Kotler Zecher Tzadik HaKadosh Livracha, came here to America, and he founded the Lakewood Yeshiva, a bastion of Torah in Lakewood, New Jersey. About 20 years later, his son, Reb Shneur Kotler Zechrono Livracha, expanded the yeshiva, creating a network of kollelim around the world. And their partner, the mashgiach, the late mashgiach, Reb Nosson Wachweigel Zechrono Livracha, had a dream that in the state of New Jersey, every single exit on the Turnpike and the Garden State Parkway should also have a kollel. So shortly after he passed away, it was in late 1999, I was approached by some of the Einaklach, the grandchildren of the mashgiach, and they asked me if I could start a kollel in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And that winter of 1999 and the beginning of 2000, I was learning in yeshiva in the morning. The afternoon, I would run around from Beis Medrash to Beis Medrash in Lakewood, and I was trying to recruit younger light. In those days, they had this little temporary Beis Medrash in Howell, New Jersey, which was the launching pad for the kollelim. And on Tu B'Shvat of the year 2000, my chavrusa and I think it was Shlomi Per actually, we went there on Tu B'Shvat, the two of us together to learn. The next day, 2 more chevra came. The next day, I think another 4 chevra came. And we learned there in Howell until Pesach. We had about 15, 16 younger light. And from those 15, 16 younger light, Pesach of that year, we came to Cherry Hill. And we started off with a tremendous bang. The learning was incredible. It was absolutely amazing. The Limud HaTorah, the level, the intensity of all the younger light. We were giving chaburas. It was such a great group of younger light. The following Elul, there were 2 very prestigious younger light in our kollel who didn't see eye to eye. And in a small place, when people don't see eye to eye, it becomes difficult. And as a result, the beginning of the next month, the winter semester, the 2 of them both left the kollel, which left us short-handed. In addition to that, also some of the source of funding began to dry up. And we didn't know what to do. And we decided we're going to continue the kollel. But when you don't have a full group, so we began to have people defecting. And by the time the middle of the winter came around, there was some times that I was traveling on the van with 1 or 2 or 3 other younger light together with me. And it was a very brutal winter. I don't remember if it was a leap year. It certainly felt like it was a leap year. And I remember thinking to myself, why am I doing this? It was so difficult. There was no hope in sight. What's going to be? Are we going to ever be able to pull this back together again? We're losing guys by the day. My wife used to say to me, the day that you stop traveling is the day that it's all over. Just go one more day, another day. I think out of the entire winter, we only missed 1 or 2 days due to really, really bad weather. We simply couldn't drive. It was too dangerous. We would come to Cherry Hill, and we would learn the whole day, maybe myself with a chavrusa, 1 other person. And then in the evening, I was searching. I need to find another person who's going to come here and help and take over. I remember Rebbe Yamin suggested we should go speak with his father, which we did. And Rabbi Kazlowitz on Gesundsein said to me, I have a son-in-law. And I remember it was so difficult. It was such a difficult winter, and I just wanted to give up. And I made a decision, I'm not giving up. You know why? You know why I made a decision not to give up? You want to know why? You see this guy, Mr. Lee Cohen? You see Ganalanda? You see their families? You see Stav Cohen over there? You see Dr. Weinberger? You see all the families that have come into the kollel and have been transformed, an early morning kollel? It was for that reason. That was the reason we opened the kollel to begin with, because we knew that there was a possibility that we could transform lives. And therefore we killed ourselves that winter, no matter how difficult it was, to continue the process, because we knew that if we paired up people from Cherry Hill together with people like these young light who are sitting over here, and you get to see the type of lives that they live, lives of Mesiras Nefesh, people who are very smart, people who could go into the business world and make a fortune. And instead, they decide that they're going to live an Olam Haba type of life here in this world. We knew that it would have an impact on every single person who came in contact with them. And it was for that reason that we sacrificed that winter until we were able to find a person of Rabbi Klar's stature to be able to come in and to take over the kollel and take a look at the incredible, incredible success that this kollel has had, transforming the lives of so many people, transforming the life of one person, Dayenu. It's worth it all for that. But Kal V'Chomer, to be able to see hundreds and hundreds of neshamas that have been transformed, people who have changed their entire lives, becoming true B'nai Torah, as a result of this kollel, it was worth everything that we went through, all just to be able to see the incredible transformation of so many neshamas. I just want to end the Chassam Sofer, one of the great tzaddikim and leaders of Klal Yisrael the last few hundred years. The Chassam Sofer says, people often say that the reason we come into this world is to make it to Olam Haba, to the world to come. The Chassam Sofer said a little different. He said, the reason we come into this world is to enable everyone else around us to be able to make it to Olam Haba. Don't worry. If you enable those around you to make it to the world to come, you'll get there as well. And that's really what this kollel is all about. This kollel is comprised of a Rosh Kollel and his Rebbetzin, and all the Yungel Light, and their Rebbetzins, and their Mishpachas, and the supporters, who are all singularly focused on enabling everybody around them to be able to make it to Olam Haba. So I want to leave you tonight with two requests. The first request is, you have a kollel here in the community, a kollel that's here to enable all of us to make it to Olam Haba. Why not take the opportunity? Come into the kollel. Learn at the highest levels. You'll be living Olam Haba here in this world and in the next. And also, please partner with the kollel and enable everybody else in our community to be able to also have their place in Olam Haba, to be able to transform their own lives. I want to wish Rabbi Klar Mazel Tov, all the Yungel Light Mazel Tov, all the supporters Mazel Tov, and the same way this kollel has flourished for the past 25 years, Kain, Nire, V'niske, V'nichya, we should be zeicha to see the Torah of this community flourish ad bi'as koyel tzedek v'mheira v'yameinu amen.
Okay, we would now like to turn your attention to the next video of the honoree, Dr. Weinberger.
What do you think the community of Cherry Hill would be like if not for the kollel?
I don't think I would know because I'd move out.
Dr. Weinberger and I go back all the way to the days of young Israel. He used to daven at the Minyan there, and then finally he found his home at the Kollel when the Kollel started its Shabbos Minyan, and Gary's just been growing ever since. He got back into laning. He has a chavrusa every night. He just made a siyum with his chavrusa and he's just steiging away, growing tremendously.
When Dr. Weinberger began davening in the kollel, learning in the kollel, his kriyas HaTorah, everything that he brings, his commitment to learning, not just learning the kiyas or covering ground, but he wants to know which svarim to buy so he can go through them and learn at Be'iyun.
Dr. Weinberger is an avid learner. He is in the kollel at 6 o'clock in the morning. And if you're in the kollel at 9 o'clock for Maariv, you will find Dr. Weinberger learning there right before it and right afterwards.
The kollel has afforded me, personally, a kviyas itim for the Torah. Besides what I do at home, I now learn relatively religiously with my chavrusa, 4 days a week.
Throughout the past 2 years I was learning with Dr. Weinberger, I've noticed that his understanding of the Gemara and his depth that he's asking the questions and how we're discussing the Gemaras has grown tremendously. It's only because of his consistent commitment to learning in the kollel and joining the kollel family.
Dr. Weinberger, in his quiet and unassuming way, is a pillar of strength in the kollel, and anything that needs to get done, Dr. Weinberger will be there to make sure it gets done.
If I had to move now, I would miss the kollel, I would miss the Rosh Kollel, I would miss my chavrusa tremendously.
Dr. Weinberger is a special individual, a man with a heart as big as the world, a man who's looking to grow in his avodas Hashem, a sincere man, and over the years, I see him and his wife became truly servants of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's a pleasure for me to have shaykhs and know such a man, about me, this Toivis, good character, always friendly, and always looking to help another Jew.
He is someone that everybody needs to learn from, that if you connect yourself to Torah, you can continue to grow and grow until you grow into a tremendous Talmid Chacham, no matter which stage of life you begin working on the Torah.
It means that much to me that the kollel is here and that perhaps in some little way I can contribute to the kollel. But I think it's given me much more than I've given it.
Now we would like to call upon Rabbi Tesser, Dr. Weinberger's chavrusa, a man sweeter than sugar, who learned with Mesiras Nefesh with Dr. Weinberger, to please come up and award Dr. Weinberger.
Pasuk in this week's parasha says, "Vatishlach es amasa v'tikacheha." Basia, when she got to the river, she stuck out her hand and she took the basket that Moshe Rabbeinu was in. The Medrash explains that she stuck out her hand and it stretched many amos, and then she was able to reach Moshe. Before she stuck out her hand, Moshe was beyond her reach. The question is asked that if Moshe was beyond her reach, why then did she stick out her hand and attempt to take something which she couldn't reach? There's a pasuk in Vayikra that says, "Leiba Shemayim hi." The Torah is not in the sky; it's not in the heavens. Kikarve lecha davar ma'od. The Torah is very close to us. Rashi explains that if the Torah were to be in the heavens, then there would be obligation upon us to ascend to the heavens in order to study and learn the Torah. Again, we can ask a similar question: that how could it be that the Torah would have obligated us to go to the sky in order to study Torah if it's something which is seemingly impossible? Reb Shlomo Hyman and others explain that when it comes to Limud HaTorah and Ruchnius in general, the obligation upon us is to do whatever Hashem says it is, even if it seems that it may be impossible. It's not necessarily based on our capabilities, but rather what Hashem wants. So when Basia saw a baby floating in the river in a basket, she didn't stop and think, is it possible for me to reach? Is it not possible? Rather, she stuck out her hand, and then Hashem made a nace, and she was able to reach Moshe Rabbeinu and take him in. Dr. Weinberger is an example of such a person. He strives and grows in his learning and in his avodas Hashem, at a pace that most of us would seem to consider impossible. It is therefore that he is such a constant and steady member of the Kollel family. In every town that he was in, and every city, he always attached himself to the Makom Torah and to the Rabbanim of the city. Personally, I have the schus of learning with Dr. Weinberger night seder in the Kollel. Each and every night, come what may, Dr. Weinberger is always there. 2 years ago, when we started learning Masechtas Makos, at the time, we thought a siyum would be impossible. But now, 2 years later, we recently made a siyum on Gemara, Rashi, Tosfos. It's my covenant and honor to call up the first honoree of the night, Dr. Barry Weinberger. In honor of Dr. and Mrs. Barry and Shari Weinberger, Cherry Hill Community Kollel 25th Anniversary Dinner. Through your strong commitment to Kviyas Itam HaTorah, devoted and meticulous Kriyas HaTorah, striving for continued Aliyah BaTorah, coupled with your humility and menschlichkeit, you have forged an intense bond between your family and the Kollel, the personification of Kavod HaTorah.
I was waiting for that. Just a few moments. The Rosh Kollel told me this morning, and I can never say no to the Rosh Kollel. I even talked to the Rebbetzin tonight and asked her if there was any way to say no, and she herself can't say no. So I have no choice. I was asked to say thank you to a few people.
That's funny.
I think I would like to first thank Hashem for putting me in Cherry Hill and seeing the tremendous growth that Cherry Hill has had via the Kollel. It certainly has helped me grow. It certainly has provided me with younger light that are magnificent is an understatement. I want to also thank the Rosh Kollel and the Rebbetzin, because without them, I don't see the Cherry Hill Kollel growing anywhere. And unfortunately, it has grown. And fortunately, more people have come to the Kollel, which I think is tremendous, and I think people who have not should take the advantage of coming. I want to thank the Younger Light for putting up with me, and Rav Tesser for being my chavrusa. I must say, there is absolutely no tircha to come to the Kollel and to learn with you. And even if we couldn't learn in the Kollel, we called each other up to learn over the phone. Finally, I want to thank one very, very important person to me. You know, Rashi says a wife can be ezer kenegdo, can be for the husband or against the husband. And I guess I was thinking about it tonight, and I thought about it, and I can't say that she has been kenegdo ever. It's always been an ezer. I may not agree, which is hard for everybody to believe, but she has always been an ezer for me, and I want to thank her very much. And we should live and be well, learning in the Kollel until 120.
Okay, we want to now direct your attention to the video of the next honoree, Levi Zev HaKohen.
I would say I can't pick favorites, but Lee's one of my most favorite people at the Kollel.
I grew up in Cherry Hill. I grew up totally secular. I really had no connection to Judaism whatsoever until they brought me to the Kollel. And for the first time in my life, I actually sat down and learned something. Rabbi Clark had a Sunday Misil Sharm Shir that he gave, a class, and I was so blown away from that class.
Right in the beginning, right after the first Chavrusashaft, Lee Cohen asked, can I come again? Can I come back? So sure. Can I come every day? Come every day. And that's what he did, every lunch break. And soon there was an entire group of people who were taking their lunch in the kollel, coming to learn at a shir. And the kollel had an impact on all of those people, thanks to Lee Cohen.
He had a fire inside of him, burning to learn everything there was to know about Yiddishkeit.
And he kept mentioning Avraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. So finally, after the third time, I stopped my chavrus and said, who are these people? They must be important if we keep on mentioning them. So he says, we're gonna have to start at the beginning. And really, through becoming a regular at the Kollel, befriending the younger light there, and of course, Rabbi Clark guiding me the whole way, I was able to go on a very long journey from completely secular to a total Torah or observant Jew.
It's hard to describe exactly what he gives to the kollel because there is nothing that the kollel has that is not inspired by Lee Cohen. Anything that ever needs to be done in the kollel and in the community, Lee Cohen is involved, and not just involved, you can be sure he's probably in charge of it.
It's amazing that a Kohen has so much to do with the Chevra Kadisha, and yet, whenever I'm dealing with a Beis Avel, the first phone call that I make, the first text message I send is to Lee.
He's been waking up before 6 o'clock in the morning for as long as I can remember, making sure to learn before Shacharis. He then works a full day, 9 to 5. He comes home, he'll eat a little bit, and right back to learning.
I was able to finish Shas, and now I'm on my second round. Mirz Hashem, God willing, in another 2.5 years, I'll make my second Siyum Shas.
He's such an inspiration. And I look at him and I learn from him every day something else. He's just nonstop, always trying to do better and be better. His davening, it's just like an inspiration to watch him. The way he davens, he has that connection, he's talking directly to Hashem.
Lee's connection to the kollel has not only made him into a Ben Torah, it has transformed him as a person, as a father, as a son, and as a husband. A true Kiddush Hashem.
This is a man that's devoted to the kollel like nobody else in the world is devoted to his job. So he should have been honored many years ago.
My father still inspires me to this day. I really hope one day myself that I could reach a fraction of his hasmada. This honor is definitely very well deserved, and I'm very lucky to have you as a father.
Thank God. You know, here we are fast forwarding 22 years later, and my wife is totally frum, my children are totally frum, I have frum grandchildren, so I'm very blessed, and I couldn't have done it without the help of the kollel.
All right, we'd like to call upon Yitzi Muller, who has really been the backbone for so many years of the kollel. Originally, he came into the kollel and he saw an opportunity there. He saw an ember that could be sparked. He saw an opportunity that, you know, it's like you go to a junkyard and you see a car and he sees the potential in something that could be made so much bigger and so much better that was just being looked over, and he really took it under his wing and behind the scenes really reignited the fire of the kollel in the recent years. We'd like to call upon Yitzi Muller.
Okay, I think that was a little bit exaggerated, but okay. Bershus our Choshev Rosh Kollel, Rabbi Klar, Rabbanim Chashuvim, Chavrei HaKollel, and honored guests. First and foremost, I just want to say that for me to be associated and to be involved with this Choshev HaMosid, with this special Kollel, is such an honor for me. Ever since Rabbi Klar and I worked together, it was something which, it was special. There was something special about this organization more than any of the other organizations that I'm involved with. What it represented, what it accomplished, as we see over here tonight, it's just something which really, really stands out, and it's something that I'm really, really proud of being a part of. Another note, it's an honor to be standing here this evening and presenting a well-deserved reward to who I thought was Lee, but now I'm hearing it's Levi Zev Cohn and his wife Vicky. Such exemplary people who on a regular basis they display selflessness for the kollel, selflessness for the community, always willing to rise to the occasion, to do whatever needs to be done, always avail themselves for whatever Rabbi Klar needs, whatever it might be, always there to make it happen. And this is something which makes them such special people, so well deserving of this honor tonight. The question is, how did they come to this? And if I may, I would like to also include Gena in everything that I'm saying. Yeah, Gena, I know you don't do anything. I know, we all know you do nothing. It just happens. And yes. But anyway, we all know the truth. How does it come to this? How do you come to be so dedicated to the community, so dedicated to the kollel, and more than anything, such B'nai Torah that you are today? How does it happen? Where does it come from? Listen to the following short story, short but powerful, because in it, I think, lies the answer. There was once a fellow by the name of Ruvain who was a staunch Daf Yomi learner. He went to the same shiur every single day, never ever missed. And the day came where he had to go out of town. He had to leave town, and he was very distressed by the fact that he was not going to be able to attend the Daf Yomi shiur. So he expressed this sentiment to the Maggid shiur, to the one who was giving the shiur, of how disappointed he was, how distressed he was, that he was going to have to miss days of the shiur of the Daf Yomi. And the Maggid shiur told him, I have a solution. I'm going to make you a tape of all the days that you're going to be out, and you'll be able to keep up and hear the shiur. He was elated, and he left on his trip, and at the first possible moment, as he was driving down a 2-lane highway, a straight road, he took the tape, for all those know what a tape is these days, took the tape and he popped it into the tape recorder and he began to listen to the first shiur. And as he's listening, he hears a siren behind him. He hears the siren, turns around, he doesn't see it, but he says, just to be safe, I'm going to pull over. He pulls over to the side of the road, and not 10 seconds after he pulled over to the side of the road, a big truck came barreling down the wrong lane, the lane that Ruvain was in. And if Ruvain had not pulled out of the lane, his picture would have been on every media site telling us about his Levaya. Ruvain, after gathering himself, after what had happened, and considering himself lucky, he puts the car back into drive, and he starts driving, and as soon as he's comfortable, he takes the tape and he puts it back on. But before he puts it on, he rewinds it a little bit just to get his bearings of what he was up to. And as he's driving and he's listening to the tape, not 3 seconds, and there goes another siren. And he thinks to himself, this is a quiet road. He looks around, he doesn't see anything. What is going on? What was going on is that at the time that the Maggid Shir had made that tape, his window was opened and a siren went by. So what happened over here? What happened? Yes, of course, the tape saved his life. But what really happened? What really happened is that his commitment to Daf Yomi saved his life. Because what happens is that when you attach yourself in a big way to a Davar Shebekdusha, that Davar Shebekdusha becomes such a part of you that it will even protect you in a dangerous situation. And that's what took place because of Ruvain's commitment to his Daf Yomi. This is the story of Lee and Gena, their commitment to Torah, their commitment to Avodah, their commitment to Avodas Hashem is what brought them to this point, because they attached themselves to it, and therefore Torah, Avodah attached to them. And that is what makes them the people that they are today. Only through that commitment. Commitment. That is Lee, and that is Gena. The Kollel thanks you. The community thanks you. And all of Klal Yisrael are really, really proud of you. And on that note, I'd like to call you up to receive the honor.
Where's the present? I thought that's what this is all about. Oh, well, here we go. Baruch Hashem, I got a little nervous. I thought I was getting shafted here. But come on, don't fight over who's going to read it. Let the Rosh Kollel read it.
First come for picture.
Yeah? Okay, go. Looks like a lot of books here. Okay, you want to hold it?
Okay, let's read it. Let's see if I can. It reads, it's a long one. To our distinguished honorees, Mr. and Mrs. Levi Zavakayan and Vicky Cohen, 25th anniversary dinner, Cherry Hill Community Kollel. Your decades of toiling to spread the light of Torah and Kedusha, illuminating an entire community around you, have had a tremendous ripple effect. Countless hours of intense Torah and Tefillah, myriads of mitzvahs, and infinite spiritual growth are a direct result of your striving to achieve even greater heights in Avodas HaKodesh and your dedication to the Kollel.
Ashrecha, Ashrecha, Ashrecha. This is an incredible night, and not because I'm being honored, because all of you are here honoring the Torah and honoring the Cherry Hill Community Kollel. And you're bringing tremendous nachas to Kadosh Baruch Hu. So I thank you for that. I want to go through my thank yous first. The rabbi just told me I have 30 seconds to speak, so the thank yous don't count. First, I want to thank Rabbi Mendy Mengel and Chabad of Camden and Burlington counties for graciously hosting this dinner tonight in this beautiful shul that we're in. Your friendship I've known Mendy for many years, Rabbi Mangel. It's got to be well over 20 years. And your friendship and your kindness and your openness to me and my family, and now to the Kollel, my extended family, it's truly appreciated. Yashar Koach to you, and thank you. I also want to thank Rabbi and Rebbetzin Klar for everything that you've done for me and my family. There is no way in the world I'd be standing here looking as I do, having traveled the road that I've traveled, without your guidance, without your knowledge, without your wisdom, and without your friendship. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Of course, I have to thank you to my co-honoree, my wife, Vicki, which also without you, I wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't have been able to accomplish any of the things that we've accomplished together. Thank you, and may we continue to grow and go to higher and higher heights. Of course, I want to thank my co-honorees, Dr. Barry and Shari Weinberger. You're a true inspiration to me and to everyone in the Kollel. The way you steig is an inspiration to me. It pushes me, and hopefully we push you, and together we can go higher and higher. And of course, my partner in crime, none other than Gen Alanda, who was the guilty party that schlepped me into the Kollel in August of 2002. It took him a couple months to get me to go there. I was scared. I didn't know what it was. I kept saying, what's a Kollel again? A Kollel? What is it? I didn't know even what I was scared of, but I knew there was something about it that just sounded overwhelming and scary, and I didn't want to go. And he finally schlepped me in there, and I haven't left since. So in a way, I guess I owe you, and we'll square away in the world to come. I also want to thank Rabbi Sarabrowski. It's a tremendous Baal Chesed. He started the Kollel, his commitment, as you heard, to persevere through the difficult years of the Kollel. Of course, Rabbi Clark could share war stories about his perseverance, but we won't go into that tonight. And starting Torah Links and giving us a place on the east side to daven with a real serious minyan, and teaching us how to daven to Hashem properly, teaching us how to bench after eating, teaching us how to make blessings on foods, the most simple things that anyone who's frum grows up, it's second nature. To us, it was all foreign. And Rabbi Sarabrowski opened his house, and his wife, the Rebbetzin, which still she possesses the honor of having the best cholent that I've ever eaten. So thank you for all the years of that wonderful cholent and the wonderful years of all the Torah and the inspiration that we had at Torah Links. I also want to thank the dinner chairman, my son-in-law, Rowie, and my son-in-law's brother, Ben Malul. Their father was my best friend, and sorry, 18 years still happens. And I have to thank my daughter, who's just phenomenal. She and I ran the last 2 dinners the years before together, and she works behind the scenes. Today we have a dinner journal. That's all my daughter. The fact that we knew how many people were coming. Over 200 people tonight. A record for the Kollel. Thank you, everyone. Unbelievable, unbelievable. We should continue to grow. Next year should be 300. So everyone, if you bring a half a person, we'll get to 300. That's how easy it is. I have to thank the owner of BP Print Group, Mr. Ben Heineman, who also has the distinguished honor of being my boss. So please forgive me if I say anything wrong or embarrass you. But he he's just an incredible person. I mean, to be able to work in a frum company where literally across the hall is a shul that we daven mincha at, and he gives us an Amit Yomi shir every day on Gemara. We're doing Gemara Shabbos right now. It was actually very geschmack, complicated sugya today. We got into it. It was a lot of back and forth, and it was really, really enjoyable. I want to thank you. Your inspiration, you're just a bal chesed. You learn from me every day. I learn from you every day. It's a perfect shidduch. And all the printed materials that you see, it's all from BP Print Group, and the creativity and the theme and everything. It's just an incredible team, and it was amazing to work with them, and I want to thank you. And I have to also thank my chevra from BP, wherever that table is. There's a BP table. My chevra came. There you are back there. Thank you. Thank you. If my eyesight was better, I'd thank each one by name, so forgive me, but I really appreciate you all coming. Of course, I have to thank our Avrechim, the younger light, right here in the front. Without them, there would be no Kollel. We tried that experiment for a few years, and no, it's not a Kollel without younger light. It just doesn't work. So they're the honorees. They're the stars, because the Kollel is about learning, it's about growing, it's about perfecting the human being. What can we become? How perfect can we become? How kind can we become? How caring, how understanding can we become? That's what they're working on day and night. Maybe I come in early, but then I go to work. Maybe I come in late, but then I leave. They're there day and night, every single day. So I want to thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. And I also want to thank, just quickly, I won't say the names, but the rest of the people that helped on the dinner committee. Refuah Shema to my good friend Ellie Goldman, who just had surgery yesterday. Today or yesterday? Yesterday. And he's here today. Back surgery. We're not talking little surgery, big surgery. So Yashikok to you, and of course, Aluz, where is he? Yosef, Dr. Yosef Aluz. I want to thank you for all the calls and everything, Tuvia Klein, Jason Schaefer, and everyone else. I can't go through the whole list. It's here on the invitation. Abe Weinberg, my good friend. Everyone, thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, so that's the intro. That doesn't count towards my 30 seconds. What are we doing? Okay, let's say start the clock now. Okay, a couple weeks ago, this is my little shtickle Torah, and then I'm done, I think. Yeah, maybe a little Musar, and then we're done. Okay. So just setting the expectations here. Okay, a couple weeks ago in Parsha Vayigash, chapter 16, verse 28, the Torah states in reference to Yaakov, and it says, quote, "And Yehuda he sent ahead of him to Yosef to prepare," and the Hebrew word for prepare is lechoros, "ahead of him in Goshen. And they arrived in Goshen." That's the pasuk. Doesn't sound so exciting. Yaakov sends his son Yehuda, the fourth son, not the oldest, but he picks Yehuda and he sends him down to Goshen to meet up with Yosef before the rest of Yaakov and his family go down into exile in Mitzrayim. And Rashi over there cites a medrash that says that Yehuda's mission was not to prepare, but it was to teach. Was to teach, not to prepare. The word lechoros can also mean teach. And so Yaakov was sending Yehuda down to teach, but who was he going to teach? There was nobody there. So the Medrash tells us that he went down to set up a house of study and a school for the children. And Rashi tells us that this teaches us that the most important priority in a Jewish community is a house of Torah study, which is our kollel in our community, and of course, Rabbi Bromberg's yeshiva, can't forget that, and any other yeshiva that we have, and a school to educate the next generation, which we happen to have a Cherry Hill Community Kollel School that started about 4 years ago. And both my grandchildren, well, two of my grandchildren, not both, two of my grandchildren are in that school. And the amount of Torah that they're learning and their excitement and enthusiasm is incredible. they're the only two kids I know that actually like to go to school. So Yasha Koch to Rabbi Klar, to Rebbetzin Klar, who runs the school, to all the Klar girls who teach our children. There is no greater mitzvah than to teach the next generation, and we learned this from Yaakov Avinu when he sent Yehuda down to set up the kollel and the school. This story that took place of Yaakov sending Yehuda took place 3,650 years ago, more or less. I didn't double check the math. That's what ChatGPT told me, so hopefully it's right. And I just want to say that's a long time ago, 3,650 years. None of us are really that old, so we don't really remember. We weren't there, but think about it. Yaakov gave us the formula for Jewish existence. For the Jew to exist in this world and to survive 3,650 years, you need two things. You need Torah, a house of study, a kollel, and you need a school, a Talmud Torah. And Cherry Hill has both those things, thanks to Rabbi Klar and the Klar family. I'm almost done. Getting there, I'm close, I'm very close. It's just this little bit more here, plus what other ad lib I do. Okay, so here's the Musar part. I was learning from Rabbi Uri Greenspan of First Seder. He sends out these WhatsApp shurim. It's probably a few years ago, but it was so powerful, it stuck with me. I'm going to water it down, tone it down for the Cherry Hill audience here at the dinner, but I still think the message is powerful. And he quoted, we were learning Orchos Tzadikim, which is a Musar sefer, which is a self-improvement, let's say, sefer. And he emphasized the importance of supporting Torah learning and Torah scholars. He encouraged individuals to be generous with their resources, and he highlights that there's a communal responsibility to support Torah study, and that the Torah study fosters an environment conducive to learning and spiritual growth. And the Orchos Tzadikim continues to say, by contributing to Torah study, which means you could study yourself, come into the kollel and study, that's a good thing, but it also means giving money, which all of you have done by supporting the dinner. It says that the individual helps to restore the purity of their soul by supporting Torah. This support also fosters a vibrant community centered around Torah values, promoting wisdom, justice, and righteousness. And I think that's what we're seeing here tonight. This is all an outgrowth of supporting Torah. And finally, the Orchos Tzadikim says that a person can fulfill his obligation to support Torah learning in our own community in many different ways. I recommend that you try all of them, but I will just mention a few. He says davening in the kollel is a way of supporting Torah learning, because when you have avrechim that are dedicating their lives to us to elevate the spiritual energy in the community and to give us a certain spiritual protection by their learning, so we should show our kar satov, our thanks, by coming and davening in the kollel. Another way is to come and learn in the kollel. A third way is to donate to the kollel, give money to the kollel, which Genna will take care of that at the end of the dinner. Please see him, and he'll be happy to charge your credit card. And the final way is to also volunteer your talents and to help the kollel grow. So even if you don't have money, if you don't have a good head for learning, if davening is just not your thing, you might have some other talents that the kollel could benefit from, and you could just volunteer. And that is another way of supporting Torah. So my bracha to all of us here tonight is that we should merit to support Torah here in Cherry Hill through the kollel and the other Torah institutions. And with that, Hashem will smile on us and He'll shower us with bracha, v'hatzlacha, with blessing and with success. And with that, we should see the coming of Mashiach speed in our days. Amen.
All right, now we ask everyone to please direct your attention to the screen to show the video of the next honoree, Mr. Gena Landa.
My memory and recollections of the life in Soviet Union was of the 12-year-old. The only thing, the religion I knew is my grandfather did Pesach Seder, and my great-grandmother would give me Hanukkah gelt. I came into a kollel in May of 2001, the day after I had my bris. At that time, I was 33 years old. And my brother, who became a Baal Tshuva a year earlier, he was already learning in the kollel for about a month. And he said, well, now that you are a proper Jew, you should actually learn something about it. I asked Rabbi Clark, when do I want to learn? And he said, how about Sunday morning? I said, Sunday morning is great. And that was the beginning of a Sunday morning program.
When he discovered that there's a concept of tefillin, we got him tefillin, and he started wearing tefillin. When he started looking in his siddur, he found a pidyon haben, and we made a pidyon haben for Gena, and his son who's a Bechar, and his father who's for a Bechar, 3 dairies.
I give a Gemara shir after Mincha, and Gena shows up, and most employees will go find a seat in the back corner or something like that. Gena pops up right in front of my stender, opens his Gemara, and he's ready to learn. And I'm like, you barely know English. This is an Aramaic, and like, is this really gonna work or not? And I have to say, Gena surprised me tremendously. There isn't a day that goes by that he's not asking a question, and they're good questions. He knows his stuff.
Together, we've done fundraising for many, many years with the kollel. We've learned together, we davened together, and it's been an incredible journey, and I couldn't have done it with a better person than Gena Landa.
My connection with the kollel had a profound effect on my son, even though as it was happening, I was not aware of the fact.
To describe my father's dedication to Torah and mitzvahs is that growing up, I always saw that if it was something that was the right thing to do, it was something for the Torah, it was something for mitzvahs, my father was uncompromising.
Gena has been somebody who has steadfastly, loyally stood by the kollel, continued to learn and grow, and in his inimitable way pound away at himself and everything around him to grow and to push that the kollel should grow, to sustain the kollel, to make sure that it remains in Cherry Hill.
I can't even imagine where I'd be right now, or where my family would be, or even if we would have a family.
I would like to call up the brother of the honoree, Rabbi Alex Landa, who, again, I heard things, maybe they're rumors, maybe they're legends, maybe they're even true, that as a young lad, he actually had to come learn in the kollel here in New Jersey under false pretenses. He used to make up excuses, he's going out doing some other stuff, and he would secretly come and learn. And I know he's a great guy because I have a good friend from middle school that I myself didn't make from. He knew I was a from Jew, and he met Alex Landa, and I think within a week he decided to become from. So he is really unbelievable. We'd like to call up Rabbi Alex Landa.
So being one of the last speakers, after so many distinguished speakers, is a lot like being a dessert in a 7-course meal. At first, everyone's excited and hungry for more, But by the time we've reached the last course, me, or almost me, they're either too full or just waiting for the coffee. But don't worry, I promise to be sweet, brief, and hopefully leave you with a good taste. It's amazing to see this maimed, this environment that we're in right now. The Rabbanim, I don't know where I am. I think I'm in Lakewood. I actually grew up in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Not on the fancy side where Lee grew up, on the other side of the tracks. And there was nothing. It was a midbar. Literally nothing. It was one shul. One rabbi, Rabbi Rothman, Zecher Levacha. Shlita, whoops. That was a joke. That was one of my brother's jokes. He tells lots of them. But in essence, there was nothing. So I tried to escape as quickly as I could get out of Cherry Hill. And when I came back to visit, there was an amazing occurrence. Some aliens decided to drop in. There was a little bit of a talk of the town, who are these people next to the abortion center? There's people protesting. Were they a part of them? They're wearing these black hats. It's a true story. I'm not joking. And so I decided to walk in. At that point, I'd been in Eretz Yisrael for a year. I said, "What are you guys doing here? This is Cherry Hill. Go back to Lakewood." No, we're coming. We're going to change the place. We're dedicated. We're going to come. You'll see. Okay. Look around. They changed the place. Oh, did they change the place? It's a pella. It's such a wonder. I'm standing up here in awe, literally in awe, looking around. This is Cherry Hill. MB Israel. This is a Makom Torah. It's a real place of Torah learning, growth. The Jewish people are under attack. And everyone's wondering, how do we get out of it? How do we battle against our enemies? You know how we do it? Look at the dais right here, the people that are sitting right here. This is the only way we do it. Of course, yes, we go to battle, we fight in a physical way. But do you know how we actually win? Look at this table right here. Look at this table right here. So my brother and I, we grew up in a family, Russian Jewish, that knew nothing, zero. I didn't know what Shabbat was. Shabbos. When someone said Shabbos, I said, what's that? Because the communists did their job. They erased every knowledge within our family. And so we were products of Stalin and Lenin. Until I heard one story from our aunt, that's 86 years old, in Yerushalayim. And she told me a story about our great-grandfather, his last day on earth. The Nazis had taken over Kiev, enslaving the Yidden to do backbreaking work, very much apropos what's going on this week's Parsha. And so he was walking from a body of water there, I believe it was the river, backbreaking work. And there was like a little bridge that he was on coming from a ship, taking things off of it. And there was a Nazi commander walking towards the bridge at the same time. And there wasn't enough room to walk through. And so the Nazi screamed at my grandfather, "Filthy Jew, jump, get out of my way." And my great-grandfather, I guess, understood what he meant, or understood either by his screaming or because he understood Yiddish. And the German is close enough. And his last moments on earth, he dropped whatever he did. He grabbed onto the Nazi, and they fell into the river, killing himself and the Nazi at the same time. That moment, that story, knowing nothing about Yiddishkeit, but hearing how a great-grandfather sacrificed his life for Yiddishkeit, that affected us. And so, when I walked into the kollel, you know what I saw? I saw people that were willing to give up their life, their livelihood, their normal life for Torah, to affect, to mashpia, to influence. And you know how they're going to influence? They're going to sit and learn. How does that work? How does that work, just to sit and learn and then you're going to influence? Yeah. Because the Torah, itself is the or, is the light that Machzir Lemutav will bring you back. Will bring you back. Just believe in it. All you have to do is learn and influence other people to learn. That's the secret. But one more small, massive step. Be Mesiras Nefesh. And oh my goodness, were these people Mesiras Nefesh. First and foremost, these people that are sitting up here, we should all thank. You know who we should thank? Their wives. That they allowed them to be Mesiras Nefesh. The endless nights that they weren't home. I mean, maybe Sveta was happy he wasn't home, but I'm talking about my brother, not anyone else here. I'll share one last similar story My brother lost his job. And the kollel looked like it was going under. And no one was giving money. And the Youngelite, I think at the time, was in between. They had lost a few. And it really looked like it was all over. The kollel was done. It's finished. So my brother actually, again, with no job, went and took a loan out on his property, a second mortgage, without his wife knowing. Now she does. Hopefully now that's not the first time you heard that, right? Okay, you're going to get it. It's not my fault. I'll be in Los Angeles by the time you... He took out a loan out with no job, no real way of figuring out he's going to pay for it. Because Cherry Hill needs a kollel. This place needs a kollel. It needs a makom Torah. It needs a place that changes the environment, that changes the people around it. But that Mesiras Nefesh, that sacrifice, paid off in infinite amounts. Ask Sveta. Ask his wife. Ask his son. Ask his future generations. And in the same light, Rabbi Klar, I remember the story very clearly, because I know my comment was, when he was losing his house because the economy had soured, and there was an incredible snowstorm that destroyed the roof of the house, and it looked like where he was building and he was going to move permanently was an impossible situation. Just go back to Lakewood. You have no way of surviving here. No one's going to even give money. Your house is not worth anything anymore. Just leave. So after going around and asking different Rabbanim, which I think the maskana was, the end result was, we can't tell you what to do. We can't tell you what to do. The decision was obvious. I'm staying. How, what, where are you going to live? How are you going to make it here? Doesn't matter. Cherry Hill needs a makom Torah. Cherry Hill needs a kollel. That's all that mattered. So with Mesiras Nefesh, with self-sacrifice, with a pure dedication to learning and teaching Torah, look around. It changed lives. It changed the community. And it's gone all the way around the United States. It's come even to Los Angeles. So, everyone that came tonight, know that you're coming to celebrate Torah, celebrate the kollel that changed Cherry Hill and changed so many lives. Be involved. Get involved. Because your involvement will pay off in infinite amounts. Without further ado, I'd like to call up the next award winner, my brother, Genelanda.
To our distinguished honorees, Mr. and Mrs. Genna and Lana Landau, You have relentlessly persisted in shining not just a candle, but a flaming fire of Torah upon yourself and all those around you, growing yourself and striving for greater and greater heights while steadfastly remaining a bulwark of support for the Kollel.
He got me in trouble when I was born, when he was born. That's what I said. He got me in trouble as he was growing, and he's still getting me in trouble. I am overwhelmed. My whole life I was running away from honor, and sure enough, it required a Rosh Kollel to give it to me. So I refuse to accept it. That's why I'm acting like a fool, and I'll continue to act a fool because I'm not given an inch in this world. I'm getting everything in the next one. If I'm going to thank everybody who helped and give credit to everybody, you guys will starve. Even after having your meal, you'll still be starving. We'll have a bunch of cadavers, the ones who weren't smart enough to run away. So I'll just go into the thank you speech. Rabbi Clark's decision was that we're not going to have speeches, just little videos and nothing else. And then last night, he comes over and says, Gena, you're going to have to give a thank you speech. Now, based on the previous years, I figured I'm going to have to prepare about a 2-hour speech. Thanks, Zalmi. So I spent the whole night working on it, literally, the whole night. And I woke up in the morning. Well, I didn't wake up because I slept. I stayed up the whole night working on it. And came to the kollel, waiting for my chavrusa, who did show up for davening. And after davening, rushing off to work while Lee's still davening, I have the Rosh Kollel come up to me and say, Gena, you got to remember, you can't tell a depressed man not to be depressed. And, you know, I'm like, what's he going about? Oh, and by the way, you can't tell a scared man not to be scared. And you can't tell a guy who's upset not to be upset. And by the way, you only have 45 minutes, 45 seconds to give your speech. He's laughing because it's true. So he said, by the way, don't be depressed, don't be afraid, don't be upset, just go get your speech ready. So I have no choice but just to offer you the conclusion of my 2-hour speech. So in conclusion, I would like to say that Hashem, as everybody knows, runs the world. And nothing you do really have any influence on it. Except, why are we doing it? And the reason you're doing it is to hide the miracles that are occurring by making it look like it's your hishtadlus that actually performed the effect that you're looking for. So, what is required from you to achieve success? 2 things. Consistent persistence. And I'm saying this without having any idea what anybody else was going to say during this evening. And it's shockingly how everybody kept saying the same point. You have to be consistently persistent in achieving your goals. As long as your goals are correct and properly applied, if you struggle long enough and hard enough and don't believe anybody who says no, you will achieve your goals. And the proof is in this room. The proof is this dinner, the proof are the honorees, and the proof are the wives and the family of the honorees. Thank you very much. My bracha to all of us is to continuously, persistently, consistently provide the effort. L'chaim, l'chaim. And I didn't thank my wife.
Thank you, Genna, for those beautiful words and beautiful advice, which is also true. Just want to give a few closing words about the kollel. The kollel has been to me like a backbone my entire life. And there's, 95% of the things I learned from the kollel, is really from example. The way the kollel is run, the way Rabbi Klar, just being his chavruso, the years that I was here, I can remember just the way, the purity, he wanted everything to be run. And there was one time that there was a lot on Rabbi Klar's to-do list, as there a lot of times is. And he was running out, I think it was to take his kids, pick them up from school or something like that. And he had to run out. It was a sudden thing. He didn't know that he had to go, but we were in the middle of learning a Marsha, and on his way out, he put his head on his hand, and he closed his eyes, and he put away all the distractions, and he was just shuckling back and forth to get the pshat. And he probably doesn't even know this, but that left an everlasting impression on me till this day, along with many other things, and that he just did as a matter of fact, and didn't even mean to teach it in a lesson or in a speech or anything like that. It was really just purely from example that has taught me so many things and the way I conduct myself today, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that can say such things. I'm sure it's very common to, at least with my brother and others, the same thing. I just want to end off that the Gemara in Brachas, at the end of Brachas it says that there's 1/60th. There's a few things in this world which represent something spiritual, which is 1/60th. So we have that a dream is 1/60th of prophecy. Ever have a dream and you run into the person the next day? Well, that's what's happening. And then 1/60th of sleep is death. It's a 60th of death. Sleep is 1/60th of death. Shabbos is a 60th of Olam Haba. Now the question is, why do we have to have these examples for? Answer is that we shouldn't have excuses in the next world. We come to the next world and the place to do mitzvahs and to get schar is in this world. And if a person comes to Hashem after 120 and says, it's not fair, how could I do more mitzvahs? How come I can't do more mitzvahs? I never had such a concept. He'll tell you he gave us Shabbos. We know it by Shabbos. If you didn't prepare before, there's nothing to eat on Shabbos if you didn't cook beforehand. So that's the comparison to Olam Haba. A person could get to Olam Haba and not prepare before, chas v'shalom. And that will be not a good situation. The question arises, what is the comparison to the days of Mashiach? We know that the days of Mashiach, a person is still able to do mitzvahs and still able to continue to grow. So what is the comparison we have in this world to the days of Mashiach? So we have examples for everything else, but the days of Mashiach is kind of a quasi, semi Olam Haba, semi Olam Haza. So the answer is that the mashal to that is Yantiv, because on Yom Tov we know that you can continue cooking, but only if you started the flame beforehand. If you started the flame before and you had the fire going, you can take that flame and continue to cook on Yantiv. And the days of Mashiach as well. Now, there's a few ways to start that flame. And one way is by learning, because the Torah we know by Tchias HaMesim, the only thing that revives the dead after Mashiach comes, there's going to be resurrection of the dead. If you didn't know about it, you heard it here first, guys. And the only thing which revives the dead is Torah. There's nothing else. There's no other way that the resurrection happens. We know that the wicked are not going to come up at the time of the resurrection of Tchias HaMesim, but there is one other way a person does have the schus of rising by the Tchias HaMesim, and that's if he supported Torah, that's if he gave money, because if you think about it, a person, if he works and he earns money and he spent 5 hours working, and that 5 hours he made a certain amount of money, and that money he gave to Torah learning, that itself is considered Torah learning. It generated Torah learning through him working and not actually learning, and that will also serve for him as a schus for Tchias HaMesim. So I'd like to take this opportunity to really point out that this is a really established and really kadosh organization. The Cherry Hill Community Kollel Torah is learned here is pure. They're not using the funds to go bowling. They're not using the funds to do anything else. Really, just to put food on the table for the Youngalite to continue to learn and to continue to live and to send their kids to tuition and to really foster and grow Torah. So the purest form of anything, whenever I had extra Meiser money or anything, the first place on the list was always the Cherry Hill Community Kollel. I know Rabbi Klar, he teaches in the summertime, sometimes in Philadelphia, and he makes sure that before he goes, he does sometimes preparations that the Torah should be given over with the utmost tahara that is in his ability to give it over, and he runs the kollel the exact same way. So with that, I would like to end off and thank everybody for coming out tonight and showing your support, and if we could continue showing the support, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. If you want to hear my speech, you'll come to one of the shiurim in the kollel. I just would like to finish off by thanking, number one, Peischem B'chvoid Achsanya. I didn't start it off, but sitting at a back table. I was once in the car with Rav Shmuel Kamenetsky, and we passed one of the shuls in Lakewood, and Rav Shmuel said, I envy this person's world to come, because he has a shul in his house, he sits in the back, he does nothing from it, and I envy his world to come. And Rabbi Mehdi Mengel, who hosts this for no reason other than to have a headache, is sitting in the back with no recognition. And this is the epitome of a Kiddush Hashem, is that there's a kollel dinner in the Chabad of Cherry Hill, hosted by Rabbi Mengel after all these years, the Achdus, the Kiddush Hashem, the Kavod HaTorah. I envy your Olam Haba. But you should have a long, long, successful Olam Hazeh. I'm humbled by the dinner, by every one of you who have come out to support the kollel, by the extreme things said in their speeches, but I'm even more humbled by the people who have helped, by our dinner chairmen who have stayed up nights together with husbands and wives working on every detail, the entire dinner committee getting together again and again, hounding the living daylights out of all of you, the young leadership committee that was just formed that gives me such nachas, and the future young leadership committee that Stav just brought to the dinner. They just came straight from a wrestling match. Did you win? Oh, 2-1. You won, right? Okay. And I really am amazed at the amount of work that was put in over the years. Lee, Gana, your families, talking about Mesiras Nefesh, how much you've given up for the kollel. Rav Moshe Feinstein says that when a person sees the need to start a Torah organization and knows it's going to be too difficult, he is required to place his trust in the Jewish people around him. To say, I know that they will appreciate the importance of what we're doing and they're going to get up and help. And I'm astounded at how true this is. I'm astounded when Roy spends days and nights doing my job. Nat Sims, whoever he is, who doesn't want to be mentioned, who set up this whole place. I didn't mention it. And I don't know if he's here, I can't see in the back, but the tzaddik, that's Rabbi Mendy Schechter from Polis Hebrew Academy, who actually called up and said, you're making a dinner, I've done this so many times in my life, I'd like to help you. And I said, how much do you charge? And he said, it's not about that. And he took my job, and he's making all the phone calls, taking care of everything that needs to get done, and none of this would have happened without these wonderful people. And the team that has helped out over the years, really doing my job in terms of fundraising, it would not have happened without you. It's a schus that you have. Gana says Hashem does it, and it's not true. This would not have happened without your work. This is in the schus of the Mesiras Nefesh of your work. And the Chayvus Halvavis says that any mitzvah that you do, you get reward. Hashem does not owe you reward. You're in the red. He gave you your life. He gave you the opportunity. He gave you the ability to do it. And on his credit card, you did something good. He doesn't owe you anything. He gives you reward anyway. But he doesn't owe you anything. But there's one thing that the Chavos of Avos says that Hashem does owe you for. And that's if you spread Torah. And Gana and Lee, you two have spread Torah. Dr. Weinberger is a marshal for people of what you can do with your life. Commit yourself to growing, to steiging. Connect yourself to people who are growing and steiging. Come daven in a place where there are people who are looking to make their tefillah a way that they can continue to grow. And you can connect yourself to that continued growth. And there is nothing that you can achieve in your life that will give you the pleasure of being able to make yourself into the person you can be. Thank you so much. We wanted to make sure that all of you have a part in the Mesiras Nefesh, which means in this sacrifice of building Torah, and that's why you just had to listen to 2 hours of speeches. Thank you so much for coming.
We would like to now turn your attention to the next video, the Kollel video.
This alone that you have in one place, people learning Hashem's Torah every single day, puts into the air certain kedusha.
Chazal say that HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, Halavai oisi ozu v'as shamaru shamor shabo machzirim l'mutav. The Torah itself has a light in it that will inspire them to come back. Young Leute who are steiging in their learning, because specifically they're learning in this kollel, and then their Torah emanates from that kollel and illuminates the entire area around it and the entire world with the Torah that they learn.
I have met and know multiple amount of people who became frum, which by definition completely changes your life, thanks to the kollel. The numbers are not in tens, but in hundreds, who are directly affected by the presence of the kollel in Cherry Hill.
When it comes to learning in the kollel, there's no age limit and no age minimum. I myself have a chavrusa who's 14 years old and a chavrusa who's over 50.
Be'ezrat Hashem, that more and more people start to come and learn Eset Chavrutot. It's a must, it's a need for this community.
I very much like to see that the treasure that to me was a hidden treasure along the side of the road on Cooper Landing Road in a storefront to be shared with more people. The treasure that is Rabbi Klar, who's giving a share, whether it's one person or 50 people with the same dedication because he's learning Torah with someone, whether he's walking into the school and learning Chumash with the boys, or being the Rosh Kol, or giving a Chabura before Mincha, whether it's with second graders, or whether with Kol Younger Light, or whether it's with older Balabatim, or it's whether with someone who just walked into the Kol for the first time and doesn't know anything about Yiddishkeit, that should be shared with more people.
My friend Ariel Shoshani introduced me to Mike's Chicken at the Kollel with Rabbi Rabinowitz, and I wanted to learn a little bit and also have good food.
The thing that inspired me the most to go there for the first time was my brother David.
I was with my friend Ariel Shoshani, and somehow he convinced me to come to Marv that night. And the rest is history.
He started going to the kollel about, I want to say, a year ago, and over the course of the year I saw that he really enjoyed going there and he was getting a lot out of it. You know, he was really growing and maturing in a way I hadn't seen before. I grew up secular, so it was a little bit daunting, I'll be honest, because I just didn't know what to expect, and I was very pleasantly surprised.
Usually when I come to the kollel, I'll do something pretty simple, like try to keep up with the parsha and study Chumash. Obviously, a lot of people are studying Talmud. If I'm really up for it, I'll study more of that. But I also just like to be in a space where I can focus.
I started coming, and then me and Rabbi Rabinowitz started getting close, and we started learning together. You meet great people, and you form great relationships, and I don't think you can do that anywhere else.
Torah is for everybody, from young boys learning Aleph Beis, all the way up to the Gedolei Adar. It's the same Torah, the same Chumash, the same Gemara, and it has the same impact all across all of the ages and every different flavor Yid you can find in Cherry Hill. Havas Yosef Torah School, otherwise known by everybody as the Kollel School, is unique in that it was created to provide children with not just the light of Torah, but the delight of Torah, and to be able to feel pleasure, enjoyment, and tremendous satisfaction while growing to the greatest heights that they can achieve.
I sent my children to the Kollel School because I saw the school as a place where my children can be inspired to true Torah chinuch and to have an energy and a fire in their Yiddishkeit that is second to none.
We sent our kid Moshe to the Kollel School because we wanted a school that had a little more personal touch and a little more focus on Yiddishkeit.
I think what's special about the Kollel School and what's unique about the Kollel School is the ability to give over to the children the energy and the fire of Yiddishkeit, that it's not just about the information, it's a living, breathing way of life, and the children are clearly inspired by that.
What their main point of focus is, and as the child, especially at the early age, creating a deep connection to Yiddishkeit and truly focusing the kids' foundation on Torah principles.
The teachers and mothers in the Cherry Hill School give tremendous attention to each individual student in the school. It's as if each student is their entire world and their only student.
There is nothing, no stone left unturned for each individual child's needs. The concept of Chanoich Lenar Al Pi Darka is something taken literally in the school, and I've experienced it in a great level.
Something we didn't necessarily expect to find in a school was a tremendous level of individualized care and warmth outside of any curriculum or system, and a certain warmth that's often lost in an institutionalized setting of a school.
The greatest satisfaction of a child is when he's achieving every bit and using every little bit of potential that he can, becoming the greatest person he can be. And the unique system and method of the school, based entirely upon the Messiah of how Torah was taught for generations to our children. A Messiah of thousands of years of how to educate a child to grow into a God-fearing Torah Jew. The teachers have done such a phenomenal job of imbuing in their children that simchas hachayim and the simchas haTorah and the pleasure and enjoyment of learning. I think that these are the luckiest parents in the world. For no money in the world can you buy such an opportunity at Chinuch.
We're going to have a second Ma'ariv right now for anyone who didn't have Ma'ariv on the front left of the room. Ma'ariv right now, please come up. Marv in 5 minutes. Anyone who washed should please bench now. Remember to bench. We're going to bench now, and then we'll do Marv.